Hi, it's Alex, and today I want to share with you a few things that I've learned from parenting as a mother of three and how I have applied it to my business. Because in parenting, even though in the beginning there were also challenges, and I've got children between 2.5 and 14 and a half, so I've done this for quite a while. And there's a lot of lessons that I've learned from my parenting, which now makes it so that my parenting feels like a full-time success versus my business many times has felt partially successful and then partially not successful. And today I want to share with you the three main reasons why that has been the case and what to do about it, and make sure you stay around for all three of them. The third one's actually my favorite. So I'm curious to hear what you think, and please post your experiences with this in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts and your experiences with parenting and business. So I'm going to start and jump right in with the first one. The first one, the first reason why I'm full-time successful with my parenting, and I think we'll reveal more what that means, right? But it means I have really good relationship with my children, and I set the oh, I'm I'm going too fast here. Okay. But it mainly means, and especially with my preteen and my teenager daughter, it's just such a big difference what I see in my parenting versus what I see with other families, and the trust bond between mother and daughter, and what I didn't have with my mother. We can learn so much about business. Anyway, so the first reason and what I've applied to my business to make it full-time successful is that I let my children become who they want to be, not who I want them to be. You've probably seen those parents too who sign their kids up for a career of something that they wanted to do, right? They wanted to always be a ballerina or a soccer star, and so they kind of push the kid to do those same things, even though the kid might be completely artsy or not into those things at all and wants to maybe try something completely different. So versus in my business, where I have so many undefined centers, and maybe you can relate, I have zero motors defined either. And then I've gotten really easily influenced by other coaches or Instagram, Facebook ads, what other coaches do, what I should be selling, how I should be selling it. Um, Often wanting to control how things go in my business based on my ego, like wanting to be seen as successful, wanting to also, be one of those coaches who posts about their 20, 30, 50K months, like all the other big ones, right? Which for most coaches, that's actually not the reality. But still, I want, like, part of my ego wanted to achieve that same goal. And that meant that I wasn't guiding my business in the way that it wanted to go. So that is lesson number one that I had to learn, to really allow my business to become who my business wants to become, because my business isn't me. I'm here to serve my business. I'm here to apply myself to my business, but my business isn't me. It's a different entity that wants to become what it wants to become. And the big piece that goes with it too, as a side point that also I'm doing consistently with my children, and that I'm also doing now with my business, is consistent communication, right? We need to really sit down and talk to it, like treat it like its own entity. And you might find that a little woo-woo, but if you're here, you're probably super up for woo-woo. So, but either way, a lot of very successful long-term business people do these things too. They don't just all admit to it, right? So communicate with your business, have open conversations, listen, and respect what you hear. So that's point number one. So, point number two and this is a cool one because it is so important. With my kids, I control the vibe. I don't let them control my vibe. And especially with a sensitive toddler, this is something that is so apparent, but also still with my 12 and 14-year-olds. They are children and they're looking to us for guidance. So if I let them control my vibe, like they come home moody, and then I'm like, you're moody from school, right? Like now I'm also moody, right? Then we've all lost. So with my children, I'm very aware that I have the power to control the vibe. And what does that mean? I stay in a state of loving kindness with them, but I also give them boundaries, right? So if they like have some stronger words toward me with which sometimes they do, after a grumpy day. And my daughter has gotten really good at apologizing too, because I stay in this vibe, right? And I don't get nasty back at her if she has like a snappy comment at me. And that was something that I had to learn in my parenting too, right? But we can apply this to our business because many times over the years in my business, I've had my business now almost pretty exactly 7 years, right? And how many times have I taken it personally when I've had a low month or a lower month or when a client didn't sign up or whatever it was, right? Um, when it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. And then I let it control my moods. I became a pouty teenager. It's like, my business isn't doing what I want it to do, right? And I was, oh, so I let it control my vibe instead of controlling my business's vibe, like I do in my family, right? So my toddler, for example, and for those of you who've had toddlers or who currently have toddlers, you know that their moods can switch in a millisecond, right? Or they sometimes even cry and laugh at the same time. So we're always this close. Like my toddler is playing around with his emotions. And so he's like, he doesn't know whether he wants to be fake crying about something like crocodile tears or if he wants to laugh about me being silly. But I have the power to see what's going on, and I have the power to control the vibe. And that doesn't mean I control him, but it means I guide him through either, if he needs to cry or if something he needs to work through, I guide him and I don't tell him that that's not okay. But also, if he's, for example, if he's feeling a little naughty and wants to spray me in the yard with the hose, then I control the vibe by redirecting him, for example. And so, or that wasn't really a vibe control, that was more like a doing control. But especially when they're on the brink of should I cry or should I laugh, or they're really emotional because they're hungry or tired, I can keep it loving. I can make him feel safe. I can keep my vibe in a way that makes him feel safe. So I like to also dry throat. I like to also see my business in a way it's like if my business was my toddler or my child and I lost it every time, like maybe my business messes up sometimes. I don't know. Maybe my business isn't perfect either, and my business messes up. Maybe it's not all entirely up to me. But imagine every time my toddler throws a tantrum, I would take that personally. And then, we're all going in a downward spiral. And I think that's happened a lot of times in my business, and I see it happening a lot in my clients' businesses too, where we take things personally when something happens. It's a very normal reaction until we become aware of, wait a second, is that actually helpful? Is that something that I would be doing with my kids? No. So that was point number two. What else did I want to say about this? Yeah, so, oh, the other thing is when I let my business control my moods, control my vibe, um, then I also show up more defeated or unmotivated, right? Um, and that didn't bring in more clients either. In fact, it repelled them, right? Because energetically, then I'm not open to bringing in new clients and new business or serving more people. So this is the third one. This is my favorite one. I don't react. And I had that again earlier, just tonight at the dinner table, right? I was feeding him some stuff because he was tired and he wasn't really eating it himself. So I spooned it in him, which he doesn't really need anymore. But then he started leaning over and spitting that food on the ground. And in the past, or how I was used to also from my mom reacting like, oh my gosh, right? Oh my gosh, like, and then, ooh, how dare you, and stuff like that. And in the past, I might have also been a lot more disciplinarian about this. And of course, over time, I don't want to teach him that that's okay to spit out the food, but they want to get a raise out of us, right? They want us to react. And so does your inner opponent. Your inner, like everything that is a challenge in life, whether externally or internally, is a setup by the opponent to see if you're going to react. So I have had to learn with my kids over the last almost 15 years that reacting is just what they're after, and I'm not going to give it to them because then they're just going to do it in the future for the reaction. And so what I do is I watch and I let it play out. I let that season go through. If he spits on the floor, the food, then, I might tell him, we keep the food in the mouth. And if he says something, I was like, no, because mommy needs to clean it up. Then what happened actually is that he said he wanted to clean it up just by me not reacting, right? So that was really helpful for me to learn in my business that if I don't react to whatever is going on in my business, I maintain the control of the situation. And not from ego, but from an empowerment standpoint, right? I witness with patience what's going on. Maybe my business has some things it needs to work through sometimes. I don't know. It looks like it, it feels like it sometimes, right? But the important thing is, I don't send anyone in a timeout. I don't punish, and I don't punish them, or I don't punish myself either. Like in business, I think because we can't really send our business in a timeout, but maybe we do by like, oh, now I'm not gonna work for a few days because you were bad. I don't know. Maybe we do it, right? But sometimes we punish ourselves in our businesses, right? And something doesn't go the way we want, or we don't sign up the amount of clients, or launch goes a little sideways, or it's a lower month, right? Then sometimes what I've done in the past is because I make it mean something negative about me, and then I have to, or I think I have to, what's the word? Over deliver, or um, I have to overperform in order to make up for it because I'm punishing myself that I messed up, or that I think that I messed up. And so what I do with my kids is I look what's happening. I make a mental note, maybe next time I'm like, maybe I'm not gonna feed him food with a spoon anymore if he's not wanting it or reaching out for it. Maybe he doesn't want to eat it. And maybe that's how I can avoid food landing on the floor. Just as an example, that probably won't work, but or if he's spraying me in the yard too often with a hose and he doesn't listen when I tell him to point it the other way, what can I do the next time? I turn that hose on a drizzle drop, and he's like, Mommy, turn it on. And I'm like, it is on, but it doesn't spray out hard, it just a little. So I get to observe, I get to assess, and then I get to change potential things for the future. But what I don't do in my parenting, and this is my absolute favorite part, which I feel like everyone can learn for every area of life that they really want to be successful with, is I don't make yesterday mean anything about tomorrow. And this is so healthy for the relationship with my children. Like my daughter is going through teenage hormone stuff, so sometimes she's not happy with me, and sometimes I'll just let her go to bed, and in the morning we can talk about it maybe, but I don't make it mean anything, right? I know there are hormones involved. I know she's going through seasons. Maybe my business has a astro transit chart too that it needs to work through. And if I always make everything from yesterday mean something about tomorrow, then I can never quite be in the present and be communicative with my business. And on that same note, just a few days ago, earlier this week, I was actually with my friend in Beverly Hills at a super yummy Greek restaurant, and we sat at the bar to eat. I'm not from Beverly Hills, I was visiting LA. And next to us at the bar sat an old gentleman in his 80s, very successful in business for over 50 years. So we started talking with him, and we ended up talking for 2 or 3 hours. And he gave us his long-term business secrets and what made it successful and what he accomplished and his lessons and how he likes to live his life. He still works in his 80s a little bit because he wants to. He still works out, he eats healthy. It's like the grandpa I want to become, right? If I was a grandpa. But anyways, the most important business lesson that he has learned over the years, over 50 plus years of making very big, very many deals and inventing or calling in or being the founder of an industry that's now $8 billion big. And he said, forget everything yesterday and before now, forget everything before now, and don't worry about the future. Just be here right now. Because when you're here right now, this is where he got his idea for this $8 billion, the first deal and the first iteration of the first interaction or business deal that then became this $8 billion industry is because he was in the present moment. Obviously, back then they didn't have scroll time on their phones like we do, right? So, but it remained the most important business lesson for him that he wanted to pass on to us. So it was an honor to sit with someone like that who's got so much to teach. But that comes with I don't react, because when I react and I make something mean something about myself, negatively, or when I rely on something external to make myself feel positive, then I can't be in the moment and I can't have these conversations with my business, and I can't let it become what it wants to become. So I hope this is helpful. Like, subscribe, and comment. I would love to hear below how this resonates for you, what your biggest lesson or aha moment or reminder was from this video. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.